What's disturbing to us is that experts are telling us that Russian state actors broke into the DNC, stole these emails, and other experts are now saying that the Russians are releasing these emails for the purpose of actually helping Donald Trump.
You're basically suggesting that Russians hacked into the DNC and now are releasing these files through WikiLeaks to help elect Donald Trump.
For a second day, Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, Robbie Mook, accused Russian President Vladimir Putin of meddling in the U.S. election.
What the experts said when this breach initially happened at the DNC was that they believed that it was Russian state actors.
The experts he's citing include an outside group hired by the DNC to investigate the cyber intrusion. Neither the Clinton campaign, the White House, nor lawmakers briefed on the hack definitively linked the leak to the Russian government today.
This has come from the highest levels of the Russian government, clearly from Putin himself, in an effort, as 17 of our intelligence agencies have confirmed, to influence our election.
Report from Mother Jones claims a Russian operation has been working for years to cultivate and assist Donald Trump.
The nation's 17 federal intelligence agencies say that they are confident that Russia directed these cyber attacks.
They could not have taken place without the approval at the highest levels of the Kremlin.
That's speculation, and we've seen a lot. Well, it is speculation.
It is not speculation. You can only say speculation.
Statement of fact?
It is a statement of the intelligence community's best assessment.
Okay.
And
you can swirl with that thing.
You're going to have to move your show to RT Russian television.
Now President Obama is ordering the intelligence community to conduct a full review of Putin's meddling.
This morning, the president-elect's transition team finding itself in a war of words with America's intelligence agencies. Now, these agencies, according to two new published reports, have concluded that Russia was deliberately working to sway the election towards Trump.
This morning, the Washington Post reporting that a secret CIA report found Russia interfered in the U.S. election to help Donald Trump win the White House.
The Central Intelligence Agency is confident that a Russian hacking plot tried to influence the U.S. presidential election in favor of Donald Trump.
The CIA has concluded that Russia intervened in the election to help you win the presidency. Your reaction?
I think it's ridiculous.
You would really have to, I think, be willing to blind yourself to the fact that all of the, and I'm cabined by only talking about the public information, but all of the disclosures, all of the dumping of information was uniformly designed to hurt Secretary Clinton and help Donald Trump.
And now the Clinton campaign is backing a demand from Electoral College electors. We're asking for a full intelligence briefing on the matter ahead of their official vote on December 19th.
DNC was hacked. Everybody knew that. We knew WikiLeaks was coming out, drip by drip by drip. They wouldn't do it all at once, of course, because they were coordinating this, obviously, with the Trump folks and the Russians.
Just to clarify, did he say that the Russians were coordinating with the Trump campaign?
Based on uniform intelligence assessments, the Russians were responsible for hacking.
Officials have told CBS News that American intelligence agencies believe Putin at some point was directly involved in the hacking around the election, and they believe Putin approved spreading the information.
My primary concern was making sure that the integrity of the election process was not in any way damaged. At a time when anything that was said by me or anybody in the White House would immediately be seen through a partisan lens. I wanted to make sure that everybody understood we were playing this thing straight.
Today, the private cybersecurity company that first uncovered the DNC hack unveiled new details that they claim confirm the Russian military intelligence service was behind the computer breach. Your company was the one that uncovered this in the first place. You were working for the Democratic National Committee. Are you still doing work for them?
We're protecting them going forward. The investigation is closed in terms of what happened there, but certainly we've seen that campaigns, political organizations are continuing to be targeted, and they continue to hire us and use our technology to protect themselves.
I ask you that because if there's any question of a conflict of interest, how do you answer that?
Well, this report was not about the DNC. This report was about a new investigation we've uncovered about what these Russian actors were doing in eastern Ukraine in terms of locating these artillery units of the Ukrainian army and then targeting them. So what we just did is said that it looks exactly the same to the evidence we've already recovered from the DNC, linking the two together.
WikiLeaks, the organization that produced these leaks about the Democrats in the election, founded by Julian Assange. He told me in an interview last fall, he reiterated just in the last couple of days, that WikiLeaks did not get this information from the Russians or from any state actor. So how does that square with what you're saying?
Well, he's not exactly a bastion of truth and integrity.
The intelligence briefing on so-called Russian hacking was delayed until Friday. Perhaps more time needed to build a case. Very strange. Intelligence sources tell CBS News the meeting was always planned for Friday.
Take on the intelligence community. They have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you.
Later, another FBI employee wrote this, quote, "Trump was right. What is wrong with these people?" The probe was so obviously corrupt that FBI officials discussed getting, quote, professional liability insurance to protect them from the consequences of the corruption.
The statement that was issued by the intelligence community in October of 2016, before the election, making clear that Russia was interfering in our election, represented the consensus view of 17 different intelligence agencies. That's not usually the way intelligence works. That kind of unanimity of opinion, particularly when the stakes are so high, is notable.
U.S. intelligence has concluded that Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered his military to help Donald Trump win the election.
U.S. intelligence officials are heading into this afternoon's meeting at Trump Tower united in their belief that the Russians meddled in the U.S. election. A senior law enforcement official tells CBS News simply, Russia did this. Now the question is whether Mr. Trump will believe that assessment.
It is beyond time for the president-elect to accept the obvious. Everyone else has. And if this report and presentation was enough to convince him, nothing will be.
I committed to President-elect Trump that my administration would ensure the smoothest possible transition, just as President Bush did for me.
New documents released by the Justice Department are giving us more information about the infamous Steele dossier. The document was compiled by former British spy Christopher Steele and alleged that the Trump campaign was coordinating with Russia. Those claims set off an investigation into the campaign months before the 2016 presidential election.
But you just published fake news.
We just published a dossier. No, I think that's a really...
Why is that not a fair, why is that an unfair description?
This was a real story about a real document that was really being passed around between the very top officials of this country.
It all started back during the campaign when a former British intelligence officer, acting as a private investigator, asked his Russian sources for dirt on Mr. Trump.
The newly released Justice Department records show the primary source for the Steele dossier was the subject of a 2009 FBI investigation and suspected of spying for Russia. The records also made clear the FBI Russia team knew about the connection as early as December 2016.
U.S. intelligence then condensed the private eye's notes and gave them to the president-elect, and the leaders of Congress.
As for that former British spy, authorities tell ABC News tonight he's considered a trusted source who's been helpful with past FBI investigations.
The Senate Intelligence Committee now says it will investigate possible links between Trump's campaign and Russia.
You have said that you believe that the dossier that was presented by the intel community to Mr. Trump, as well as to President Obama, it included the opposition research with wild, unconfirmed accusations about Mr. Trump. You've called that, quote, a garbage document. The dossier that was presented by the intel community to Mr. Trump, as well as to President Obama, it included the opposition research.
U.S. investigators say that they have corroborated some of the communications detailed in a 35-page dossier compiled by a former British intelligence agent.
The FBI and U.S. intelligence agencies are looking into whether Trump campaign officials and other associates had repeated contact with and coordinated with Russian intelligence before the election.
The FBI is already investigating Russian ties of some former Trump campaign officials, including one-time campaign manager Paul Manafort.
I was urging my former colleagues and frankly speaking, the people on the Hill, it was more actually aimed at telling the Hill people, get as much information as you can, get as much intelligence as you can before President Obama leaves the administration, because I had a fear that somehow that information would disappear with the senior people who left. So it would be hidden away in the bureaucracy, that the Trump folks, if they found out how we knew what we knew about the Trump staff's dealing with Russians, that they would try to compromise those sources and methods, meaning we would no longer have access to that intelligence. So I became very worried because not enough was coming out into the open, and I knew that there was more. We have very good intelligence on Russia. So then I had talked to some of my former colleagues, and I knew that they were trying to also help get information to the Hill.
A lot going on today.
Yeah.
Mark
That's why you have the leaking.
Exactly.
People are worried.
Just found out that Obama had my wires tapped in Trump Tower. Nothing found. Minutes later, he asked, is it legal for a sitting president to be wiretapping a race for president? A new low.
No president can order a wiretap. Those restrictions were put in place to protect citizens from people like you.
For the part of the national security apparatus that I oversaw as DNI, there was no such wiretap activity mounted against the president-elect at the time, or as a candidate, or against his campaign.
If the FBI, for instance, had a FISA court order of some sort for a surveillance, would that be information you would know or not know?
Yes. You would be told this.
I would know
that.
If there was a FISA court order.
Yes, something like this, absolutely.
And at this point, you can't confirm or deny whether that exists?
I can deny it.
There is no FISA court order?
Not to my knowledge.
We're hearing from James Clapper and others there wasn't a FISA warrant, but if there was, that would mean that the government believed that there was illegal activity happening in or around the Trump organization, which would be very, very damaging for this president.
Wiretapping has been discussed in the New York Times, BBC, Fox News, and we believe that it should be looked at by the House Intelligence Committee.
I have got to stop you right there. Every single article you just mentioned does not back up the president's claim that President Obama had him wiretapped.
Do you think he just made this up? That's what I think. Yeah. What do you think he did?
Yeah. There's no evidence of it. And Chris, if there was any sort of wiretapping, it's because the FBI and the Department of Justice got a federal judge to sign off on it, which means he's in real trouble.
With respect to the president's tweets about alleged wiretapping directed at him by the prior administration, I have no information that supports those tweets. The FBI, as part of our counterintelligence mission, is investigating the Russian government's efforts to interfere in the 2016 presidential election. And that includes investigating the nature of any links between individuals associated with the Trump campaign and the Russian government, and whether there was any coordination between the campaign and Russia's efforts.
There is circumstantial evidence of collusion. There is direct evidence, I think, of deception. And the way I've described it is there is circumstantial evidence, certainly, of collusion or coordination. There has been direct evidence of deception, but you can certainly prove many cases on the basis of circumstantial evidence, so people shouldn't underestimate the power of that.
All you have right now is a circumstantial case.
Actually, no, Chuck. I can tell you that the case is more than that, and I can't go into the particulars, but there is more than circumstantial evidence. Despite the unanimous conclusion of the 17 entities that make up the U.S. intelligence community that the Russian government sought to sow discord in our political process and undermine the Clinton campaign, there is a seeming hesitancy to dig too deeply into possible collusion.
Now we're going to dig into that story about Obama National Security Advisor Susan Rice and the questions over how and why she unmasked Trump administration officials named in intelligence reports.
Former National Security Advisor Susan Rice has emerged as the central figure in President Trump's long-running claims that President Obama either ordered or tolerated some form of surveillance of Mr. Trump and his associates, and the motives were more about politics than national security.
The allegation is that somehow Obama administration officials utilized intelligence for political purposes. That's absolutely false.
And I think it's important for people to understand what incidental means.
It's an established process for senior national security officials to ask for the identity of U.S. persons in these reports.
The Americans who were talking to those targets may have been picked up.
The Washington Post today calls the latest claims about Susan Rice anatomy of a fake scandal ginned up by right-wing media and Trump. And on this program tonight, we will not insult your intelligence by pretending otherwise, nor will we aid and abet the people who are trying to misinform you, the American people.
The FBI used a controversial dossier of alleged contacts between President Trump and Russian agents as evidence for a secret surveillance warrant.
Tonight, CNN has learned that British and European intelligence intercepted communications between Trump associates and Russian officials and other Russians known to Western intelligence during the U.S. presidential campaign, and shared those communications with their U.S. counterparts.
The FBI Director James Comey has cited the dossier in some of his briefings to members of Congress in recent weeks as one of the sources of information that the Bureau used to bolster its investigation.
As you know, the IC was a coordinated product from 3 agencies, CIA, NSA, and the FBI, not all 17 components of the intelligence community. The 24 or so analysts for this task were hand-picked, seasoned experts from each of the contributing agencies.
So I asked a friend of mine to share the content of the memo with a reporter.
In a remarkable admission, Comey revealed he did it to impact the investigation he was no longer in charge of.
I asked him to because I thought that might prompt the appointment of a special counsel.
This Steele dossier, you were the chief campaign strategist. When did you know that the campaign was helping to pay for part of it?
First of all, I only learned that when it came out in the paper.
I didn't know that we were paying the contractor that created that document. I didn't.
I regret I didn't know about Christopher Steele's hiring pre-election. If I had, I would have volunteered to go to Europe to try to help him.
How could both the chair of the DNC and the Clinton campaign not know about these payments?
Democrats say regardless of who paid for the research, what's important is the information in the document.
Folks involved in funding this lied about it, and with sanctimony, for a year.
So I asked a friend of mine to share the content of the memo with a reporter.
In a remarkable admission, Comey revealed he did it to impact the investigation he was no longer in charge of.
I asked him to because I thought that might prompt the appointment of a special counsel.
We identified significant inaccuracies and omissions in each of the 4 applications, 7 in the first application and a total of 17 by the final renewal application. For example, the Crossfire Hurricane team obtained information from Steele's primary subsource in January 2017 that raised significant questions about the reliability of the Steele report.
The FBI case was opened in 2009 because the individual who would later feed information to the dossier's author was deemed a possible threat to U.S. national security after the Bureau received reporting that he may have offered money to researchers close to the Obama administration in exchange for classified information.
All of the applications also omitted information that the FBI had obtained in August 2016 from another U.S. government agency detailing its prior relationship with Carter Page, including that Carter Page had been approved as an operational contact for that other agency from 2008 to 2013.
In a court document that's been filed here in Washington, that he will admit he altered an email to make it seem like Carter Page had not been or was not known to have been a source for another U.S. intelligence agency, when in fact Page said he had done some work for the CIA. Now that could have been important to the FISA court in knowing whether this person whose activities were under scrutiny was perhaps doing some work for another agency.
And the FISA applications made it appear as though the evidence supporting probable cause was stronger than was actually the case.
The declassified records also make clear that the surveillance warrants for the Trump campaign aide are central to U.S. Attorney John Durham's probe into the origins of the FBI's Russia case. It's still not clear whether Durham will deliver his findings or indictments before the election.
If you read this document, the first thing you would think of is they got something on Donald Trump. It is stunning, it is damning, it is salacious, and it's a bunch of crap.